if I gave you 3x squared minus x plus 4x squared plus 7x. So we're just doing a couple refresh just to kind of remind ourselves what we're doing after a nice long weekend. What would I have to do if I wanted to add or subtract here?
Add negative 1 and 7.
We add like terms. So if I look, 3x squared and 4x squared, we can add those. When I add them, what changes? Does the x part change? No, you just add the numbers, so it's 7x squared. Then we have negative x and positive 7x. So negative 1 plus 7 is positive 6x. So when we are adding and subtracting, we can only put them together if they're like terms, same variables, and when you do that, the variable doesn't change. What if I said 3x squared y times negative 5x to the 4th y to the 3rd? How do you multiply those?
Times negative 5x 6.
Multiply the numbers. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. When you multiply those x's, x squared times x to the 4th, that means you have 2 x's and then 4 x's. So we said you add those exponents. That gives me 6 total x's. With my y's, this is a first, so that would be y to the 4th. All right, today we are going to do problems like this. X to the 3rd squared. So when I see this, x to the 3rd means we have 3 x's multiplied together. When I square that, that's telling me I have this thing 2 times. If you look at that, how many x's do I have at the end? 6. So what did we do with those exponents? We multiplied them. All right, so that's where we need to pick up in our notes. We are on this page. Everybody turn to that page in your binder. So this is different than when I had the x written each time. Remember, if it was x to the a times x to the b, we added those exponents. When it is a power to a power, we multiply. If that x is only written each once, we multiply those exponents together. So you need to understand the difference between these two things. When the base is written each time, you add. When there's only one base, and it's a power to a power, we multiply our exponents. So the first one, if I said x squared to the 8th, what would that turn into? X to the 16th. Other thing I need to warn you about, your exponents are small. If you're writing this, that is not the same thing. Okay, so make sure you have a small 16 up there. All right, with this one, we actually have to take the 4th power to both variables in here. So with my m, 9 times 4 is 36. With my n, 5 times 4 is 20. So it's m to the 36, n to the 20. So if you have multiple variables multiplied together, you take it to both. All right, this one, p, q to the 5th. We have 2 different letters. So that p, if there's not an exponent written, we assume it's 1. So we take the 3 to both of them. So So for my P, 1 times 3 is 3. For my Q, 5 times 3 is 15. So P to the third, Q to the 15. All right. When you have coefficients, so numbers in front, it works the same way. That exponent has to go to everything. So we have to take it to the number as well. So when I see this, that tells me I have to do a 5 squared, and x, 7 times 2 is 14. But we can simplify. What is 5 squared?
25.
That means 5 times 5. So 25 x to the 14. Right. I want you to do number 6 together. And then I'm going to have you guys try it. When we look at this, we have to take the square to everything. All right, think about the 8, negative 8. Negative 8 squared, that means negative 8 times negative 8.
Negative 64.
Not negative, positive 64. If you type it into your calculator like this, it will tell you negative 64. We are squaring the whole thing, so you have to put the negative 8 in parentheses if you're putting it in your calculator. So it means negative 8 times negative 8, which gives you a positive 64. With our C's, 4 times 2 is 8. With our D's, 9 times 2 is 18. If this is confusing to you, you can think about what it means. If it's squared, that means I have this thing 2 times. If I wrote that entire parenthesis 2 times, then it's a problem like we did last week. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. 4 C's and 4 C's gives me 8 C's. 9 D's and 9 D's gives me 18 D's. Okay, so it's just a shorthand way of writing this. All right, why don't you guys try 5, 7, and 8 for me? We're having a few issues here. 2x squared y to the 5th. One way to think about it, it's not time efficient, but maybe it would help us understand. We have this whole thing written 5 times. Okay, so you could certainly do that. When I write it this way though, it should help you see when you multiply this, it's not just a 2 anymore. How many 2's did I end up with? 5. So it's 2 to the 5th power. X squared to the 5th. So you multiply 2 times 5 is 10. Y, 1 times 5 is 5. Then I want you to simplify. 2 to the 5th power. Does everyone know how to type this in your calculator? You do the 2, the little caret button, and the 5. And that tells us it is 32. If you take 2 times itself 5 times, that is not the same as doing 2 times 5. It's 2 to the 5th power. Alright, so number 7. This means I would have negative 5 4 times. My m, 6 times 4 is 24. We currently have 1 in, so 1 times 4 is 4. When you type this one in, you have to do the negative in parentheses, then the caret, and then the 4. So that tells you 625, m to the 24th, n to the 4th. Alright, this one. This is negative 3 to the 3rd. X, 2 times 3 is 6. So if you type in negative 3 to the 3rd, you get negative 27, x to the 6th. Does everyone know how to plug in those exponents on your calculator? Okay. Let's look at number 9. We have to do 1/2 to the 3rd. It would become a to what power? B to the, and C to the 15. Everybody, type in 1/2 to the third for me. It may give you a decimal if you hit math number 1. Remember, it'll convert it back into a fraction. What do we get? So 1/8. A to the 9, B to the 12, C to the 15. All right. I want to look at the bottom, and then that'll be our stopping point for today. So we're just going to do these last few questions. This is kind of a combination of things. So I need everybody to pay close attention when we go through these. It's taking things from last week and today and putting them all together. So we have to solve piece by piece here. The first thing I'm going to do is this third power out here. So we have to distribute that. So this parenthesis would become x to the 9 and y to the 9. That is still multiplied with xy squared. This is like an x to the first. So if you have 9 x's and then 1 x, how many x's do we get all together? 10. With my y's, I have 9 y's here and 2 y's here, so that gives me 11. X to the 10, y to the 11. Number 12. If there's a negative, that's the same thing as saying -1. So we have to do -1 squared. A to the second, B to the 14th. What is -1 squared? 1. It's -1 times -1. So we just get 1 a squared b to the 14th for the first parenthesis. Second one, this is saying 12 squared a to the 6th b squared. What is 12 squared? Now, this is like problems from last week. 1 times 144 is 144. A squared times a to the 6th. You have 2 a's and then 6 a's, so that's 8 altogether. B to the 14th and b squared, so 14 b's and 2 b's is 16 b's. So 144, a to the 8th, b to the 16th. So number 14. What is 2 to the third power? It means 2 times 2 times 2.
8.
8. A to the 6. Okay, over here, we're multiplying. This is just a 1, so 1 times 3 is 3. A squared and a to the 4th would be a to the 6th. Now, these are like terms, so when we add them, what do we get? 3 plus 8 would give me 11, a to the 6th. Alright, I want you guys to try these. Nobody wants to talk out loud, only about 2 people will answer my questions. Nobody is 100% on these. We're practicing. We need to make sure that we are paying attention and asking questions when we need to. So we have an r to the 4th. This is a negative out in front. or like a negative 1. If you take a negative 1 to the third, it's still negative 1. With my r's, r to the 7th to a third. When it's a power to a power, what do we do with those exponents? Times r to the 23rd. This is 1s to the third, so 1 times 3 is 3. Now, if I am multiplying those r's, what do we have to do with our exponents? Since the r is written each time, we add them. Okay, my negative 1 times 1 is still negative 1, or you could just put a negative. R, you have 4 here and 21 here, so that's 25 total. S to the third. All right, number 13. You have to take the third power to everything. So 6 to the third power. You can use your calculator. 6 to the third is 260. A squared to the third. Power to a power we multiply. So that's a to the 6. B, 1 times 3 is 3. So b to the third. Okay, 1/3 squared. So you can do it on your calculator. 1/3 times 1/3 is 1/9. A squared, B squared, C squared. So now we multiply. What is 216 times 1/9? Okay, I have 6 A's and 2 A's, so that gives me 8 A's. I have 3 B's and 2 B's, so that's 5 B's, and then I have my 2 C's. Last problem of the day, 3 to the 4th. So you can use your calculator. It means you have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So you get 81. X, 3 times 4 is 12. Y, 1 times 4 is 4. Minus. Okay, 7 squared is 49. X, 5 times 2 is 10. Y, 1 times 2 is 2. Times x squared, y squared. Order of operations tells me I have to multiply before I subtract. So if I'm multiplying over here, I have my 49. 10 x's and 2 x's will give me 12 x's. 2 y's and 2 y's is 4 y's. Now these are like terms because they both have the x to the 12th, y to the 4th. So we can subtract 81 minus 49 is 32. X to the 12th, y to the 4th. Alright, so all the rules that we were using last week, they have not gone away. We are still tacking them on. We're just adding new pieces to it. So what we're going to do, I'm giving you a handout. We are doing front only. We are practicing the same things more tomorrow. Okay, so front only, a lot like we've been doing the last few days. As you guys turn this in, I'm going to be checking them. The ones that you missed, if we don't have time today, then tomorrow I'll go over with you and have you fix. If you would like to work with somebody, you are free to do so.